Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to analyze the physique of Toji from Jujutsu Kaisen and make a plan to help you develop the muscles that he has developed so you can have a physique that is somewhat resembling his physique. So first we'll analyze which muscles appear to be particularly developed on Toji's body. So he has a pretty developed body overall, but there are a few muscles which I think particularly stand out. So from this picture you can see his forearm is basically as big as his upper arm, so he has massive forearms. His neck is also pretty big and the traps really stand out as well. And obviously he has this crazy shoulder to waist ratio. He has a tiny little waist and a big upper back, big wide upper back. And his chest doesn't really stand out all that much, so we're not going to focus too much on the chest for this plan. And obviously he has quite developed abs since you can see them through the t-shirt. And we certainly can't ignore his shoulder development as well. He has particularly big rear delts, so he has a real 3D boulder shoulder look. So the muscles we're going to focus on are the forearms, the neck and traps, the upper back, the shoulders, and keeping a small waist to enhance that shoulder to waist ratio. So we'll start with possibly the most important muscle group, which is the forearms. The first forearm exercise is the dead hang. If you do this until failure, your forearms are really going to be burning. So if you do maybe 3 sets to failure, that's going to give your forearms a really good workout. And doing dead hangs will also stretch out your lats as well, which will actually cause them to grow. Next is some kind of deadlift variation. In this program, I'm going to be using Romanian deadlifts because we're not really interested in powerlifting exercises. We just want to develop the muscles, and Romanian deadlifts are better than conventional deadlifts for that. But yeah, any kind of deadlift variation where you're holding a heavy weight in your hand, and on the last rep you can hold it at the top for as long as you can. That's going to burn your forearms and stretch out your traps as well. And next is farmer walks, and these are great for forearm endurance and they give you a crazy forearm pump, and also great for traps as well. And now on to trap exercises. So like I just mentioned, farmer walks are really great for this because they stretch your traps out, and that weighted stretch is extremely anabolic, breaks down the muscle really well. Next we have shrugs. So using a trap bar puts the weight in like the ideal alignment with the direction of the muscle fibers. And I like to do shrugs until failure, so strict shrugs until failure, and then once you can't do any more strict shrugs, then you do power shrugs while still holding onto the weight, so you can squeeze out a few extra reps with like a little bit of cheating, controlled of course. And the next exercise is face pulls, which if you do them nice and controlled, really focusing on activating the traps and the rear delts, then you will definitely feel a burning in your traps after doing these. And like I said, they're great for rear delts as well, which is pretty important for Toji's physique. And they're just great for shoulder health and upper back health overall. Next is the neck. Neck training is becoming more mainstream thanks to YouTubers like Alpha Destiny. And obviously just the basic neck exercises you can do are neck curl lying on a bench, or a neck extension on the bench, or if you have a neck flex harness, then that's ideal, and that's the best way to train the neck, using the neck flex. For the upper back, we want some kind of row variation where your arms are flared out to the sides. So if your arms are tucked, if your elbows are tucked close to your torso, then that's going to target the lats more. And if your arms are flared out to the side like this guy in this picture, then that targets your mid back and your upper back more. And cable rows are great for this because they take the lower back out of the equation, so you don't have to rely on the lower back, which might be fatigued from some of the other lower body exercises. And we also have the inverted row, which is a great body weight movement that also targets like the upper back and the lats. And lastly, for the upper back, we have chin-ups, not necessarily an upper back exercise, but I didn't want to neglect the lats and the arms. Next, the shoulder exercises. Obviously the best one is overhead press, which will also develop your upper back because it needs to stabilize that weight overhead. But yeah, progressively overloading the overhead press is basically the best way to build your shoulders. And also another exercise I really like is the Lu raise. So Chinese weightlifter Lu Xiaojun does these for hypertrophy and to protect his shoulder health as well. So it's basically an extended range of motion lateral raise where you have plates and you start at the bottom, right at the bottom, like holding the plates together, and then you move them up through this full range of motion until they're overhead, and then slowly lower them back down to the starting position. And this is really hard. You don't need much weight at all in this exercise. You can start with just like 2.5 kilo or 5 kilo plates, and that will be just enough. That will be perfectly heavy enough to get a really good shoulder burn. Next are the ab exercises. I've included a weighted plank to help with intra-abdominal pressure. And this will help you brace during deadlifts and squats, so that will protect your spine and prevent you from getting injured. We also have weighted sit-ups, holding the plate behind your head, because this makes it much harder than holding the plate in front of your body. And lastly, we have hanging leg raises, which again will stretch out your lats at the bottom. They'll develop your forearm strength and endurance, and obviously your abs. So that's most of the important muscle groups covered. Now we'll move on to the less important ones because we don't want to neglect these completely. For the chest, first I've got weighted push-ups. You might be surprised that bench press is not actually the best way to build your chest muscles. It's just a good way to demonstrate your pec strength, but not necessarily the best for hypertrophy. So weighted push-ups from an elevated platform. So you can see this guy has got his hands on boxes so he can get deeper into the bottom position than if he was just to go down to the floor. And next we have weighted dips, which are a great chest exercise. And again, you can get a really good range of motion with these. And lastly, we'll talk about legs. So obviously just the basic barbell back squat. This is going to be basically the best lower body exercise. Develops your glutes, your quads. And I mentioned earlier we would include a Romanian deadlift. I think this is probably the best hamstring and glute exercise. And I like to include some kind of unilateral leg work. So here I've got a walking lunge with dumbbells, which will target your quads, hamstrings, and glutes. And you get a really good pump off of these. You might be wondering where the arm work is, and I haven't included any in this program because Toji's upper arms are not particularly big, and the focus is on his forearms. But if you would like to add in some extra direct arm work, then I don't think that will be too much of a problem. It won't interfere too badly with any of the other exercises. And of course the guy's shredded, so we want to be at a low body fat percentage and keep the waist as small as possible. So we don't want too much oblique development because that can make your waist look kind of blocky, which is definitely not the look that Toji has. On the screen now is an example of a 5-day weekly program that I made, which emphasizes the muscles I've talked about in this video, so you can develop a physique similar to Toji. So feel free to pause the video and copy it or make any adjustments you need. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. I think this guy has an awesome physique, especially this picture here. I know it's not canon, but I love this picture. And hopefully with the tips I gave in this video, you can develop your physique to be somewhat similar to Toji's awesome physique. Thanks for watching.